Welcome back to Peak Health Revolution. My name's Logan Grundy, and we're going to be going over some soft tissue work that you can be doing to help alleviate pain and stiffness and improve on your mobility. It's going to be about 15 minutes. You're going to need a foam roller and a ball about this size or up to the size of a softball. So something in this size. For the end of it, we're going to get started with the foam roller though. I'm going to walk you through this entire 15 minutes. So what we're going to do, we're going to start on our legs, on our quads, kind of trying to hit the central portion of it. So you're just going to get down onto your foam roller, load it so that you're only onto one leg at a time. So this one's off to the side bracing you. You're going to start high, roll nice and slow through there. If you find any particular spot that really sticks or stands out for you as being more discomforting, then what you can do is, let me find one. So right in there, now I can take this leg and just stay on that same spot and just work this leg back and forth a couple of times. Then when you feel that discomfort starting to dissipate a little bit, then you can start to go again. So we're going to spend about 1 minute slowly rolling down the length of this kind of central part of your quad here. And you don't want to roll over the knee joint. So once you get down to that knee joint, then you're going to stop and we're going to switch over and do the other leg. So a nice slow single pass of that quad, and then you're going to switch over. Again, just one leg on that foam roller, other leg out bracing you, using your elbows as well to help stay comfortable in this. Nice slow roll again, crawling your way forward with it. And really just looking for those most tender spots. You'll tend to have one or two more tender spots in through your quad. And the idea is you're creating like a big wave of pressure essentially, versus trying to roll over it too fast. You're just nice, slow, single pass with a big wave of pressure getting deep into that leg. And at any time, if you have the extra time beyond 15 minutes, what you can do if you find one spot's particularly tender, pause the video and just spend extra time there. So now we're going to do, still on the quads, but now we're going to go out to kind of like the 45-degree angle, like lateral quad here. Not all the way onto the side, onto the IT band, but just on the lateral side of our quad. So we're still going to drop down, but now we're going to be at a bit more of an angle here. Going nice and slow. If you have a really tender spot right up at the top, don't worry about it too much. We're going to get to that in just a minute. That's basically onto your hip flexor, your TFL muscle. So we'll get that in a second. So the idea with this one is that you want to be still on the edge of the quad, not onto the IT band, right on the very side of your leg. And we're trying to basically separate that tissue between your quad and the IT band itself. So this one can be a little more tender. You'll probably find you can get more pressure onto it this way. And that lateral side tends to be tighter in a lot of people. So taking a full minute here to roll down to the end of that. One big, nice, slow pass. And then we'll do the same thing over on this other side. Really good thing to be looking out for as you go through all of this too is like, what do you notice from one side to another? If you notice that one side's always more tender and sore, that's going to give you a lot of feedback to say, what's going on with my body that I'm in some way compensating maybe to one leg or to one specific area of a muscle that's creating more tension essentially in it. So we're just about finished up here, and then we're going to get on to our TFL muscle. It's one of our hip flexors, so anyone who sits a lot, This is a really good muscle for you to work on. We have options here. We can use the foam roller, which I like to use, or the ball, whatever you find you can get in there the best with. Basically what we want to target is, if this is the top of my hips and you get a little bony spot right here, just below that, these first couple inches right in here. So what we want to do, instead of actually moving the foam roller, we're going to get into that area and we're actually going to move ourselves on the roller instead. I find that to be the better technique. You might have to go a little bit higher or lower until you find exactly where that spot is for you. Then once you're on it, you'll be in good shape. You can definitely go over it, rocking over a bunch of times here, or what you can do is sometimes you'll find just that right spot that you can dig into, and then you can, if you can find a spot that you're like, oh, that's the spot, you can also just lay into it and just relax onto it and let the pressure of your body onto that foam roller do the work for you as well. So a couple options with this one, using the foam roller and getting lots of rocking on it, or getting the foam roller, finding that real good spot and just letting the pressure of your body do the work. Or what you can do is use a ball in here as well. Totally just comes down to preference of what you like to do best and where you find the most relief into there. So that's one side. Come around and we will do our other side here. And if you're having trouble finding it, don't worry, just keep hunting around generally in that area. Typically you are going to find a sore spot. So we're not going to get a full, like, head to body, every single muscle of our body foam rolled today, but we're going to focus on the most important areas that tend to need it the most. So we got about 10 seconds left in here to hunt down those last kind of sticky spots. And then we're going to switch over. We're going to work on the back side a little bit here. So I'm going to get into my glute just by sitting onto the foam roller yourself. Again, you have options here. You can go straight leg with the foam roller. You can bend your leg, and I find this adds just a little bit more tension into that glute, and you can kind of rock around and find those spots. Or you can go over to the ball and use it, and that's just going to add more pressure. So if we were talking somebody with really tight sore tissue, where you would want to start is with the foam roller with your leg straight, then move to the foam roller with your leg bent like this, and then you would go straight leg with the ball, then bent leg with the ball, as you continue to progress and get able to get deeper into those tissues. So just depending where you're at, essentially what you want is the amount of pressure where it's uncomfortable for you, but it's not unbearable. You're not like holding your breath. You're able to keep talking like this. If we go too much pressure, nothing's going to let go because our nervous system is going to just elevate too much that it's going to be like, ooh, that's uncomfortable, that's painful, and it's going to hold tension. So we want the discomfort in there. We want to get the roller or the ball in there, but we don't want it so much so that basically nothing's going to let go because our nervous system's a little too fired up. So with this, you can tell I'm not moving a whole bunch really fast, but I'm really just rolling and rocking with on the foam roller here to try and find those worst spots in my glute for me. And then we'll switch over to the other side here in a second. So you have a couple approaches you can use with this specific one. You can either kind of roll your body on the foam roller like I am, or you can also roll that foam roller. Then what I like to do is, as you shift your angle of your body a bit, you get slightly different spots. So right here, I'm kind of quite close to my midline. And then if I roll all the way out here, I'm obviously getting further out onto my hip. So I'll often do kind of a pass here, pass a little bit further over, pass a little bit further over, and then really the first couple seconds I'm taking my time to try and find where are the most sore spots for me, and then I just spend the remainder of my time hanging out and working in and out of that most sore tender spot. So you can just kind of like sit back and forth, kind of oscillate on that particular area. And if you get to the point where you're using the ball, what you can do is you can try and like squeeze your glute muscle, make it hard, and then try and relax and have that ball sink deeper in every time you relax into it. So that's called kind of like a contract and relax method, where you're squeezing it, relaxing, and trying to let that ball sink deeper and deeper into your actual glute. A couple more seconds here, then we'll move on to our next guy that's going to be particularly tender for a lot of you guys. We're going to get into our lat, so kind of into this area. And again, this is one where instead of moving the foam roller so much, so instead of trying to roll like this, I'll usually just start right up into that armpit, and everything from all the way back here to rolled forward over it. And a lot of you are going to find this one's quite tender. And then you just micro adjustments to the foam roller, bring it down a little bit more, and you'll just continue to work down. So if it's feeling pretty good, what you can do is bring it down a little bit with each pass. And if it's not feeling so good and you got a pretty sore area, just spend your time on that area. If you have multiple sore areas, don't worry too much about trying to get to them all in one day. You're better off to basically really work into one area and get things taken care of there, instead of trying to work into, say, 3 or 4 different areas and not getting too particularly much work done in any of those given areas that are all troublesome. Instead, just focus on one, get into it, do the work on it, and then move on, versus just skimming the surface on a bunch of different areas. But again, if you're feeling quite good through this, then by all means work through the whole thing. If you have lots of sore spots, just focus on 1 or 2. And let's go over to our other side here. So, as you guys can see, I have the rumble roller, which is what these ones are called. They have the big nubs on them. If you are just getting started, you probably want something less aggressive than that. One of the kind of softer blue foam rollers is probably a good starting point. And then when you get to the black or they're like dark gray foam rollers, they're typically a little harder than the blue ones. And then you can get into something like this. And it's just progression of how much pressure essentially goes onto that tissue for you. So for me, I really like this one now that I can handle a little more pressure, because it allows me to get, obviously, like where the nubs are, I'm getting like more pointed spots of pressure essentially, and I can almost use that nub to get into those spots a little bit better. But it takes time to get to these, and then even into the ball. The bigger the ball, the more surface area that's going to be on the area and the less pressure. So as the ball gets smaller, it's going to get deeper and more pinpointed. So just keep that in mind when you're picking out a ball. Personally, I would love to have a regular, just like blue foam roller, the softer ones, one of these, a softball, and a lacrosse ball would be the ideal, I would say. The softball is really nice to get into your glutes and even into your hip flexors a bit. And then that lacrosse ball, a little bit smaller, a little bit more pinpointed. So it's good when you want a little more pinpointed relief into an area. So the next one we're going to do in a second here, we're going to be switching over from the foam roller to the ball. If you don't have a ball, and you just have a foam roller, that's fine. You can do this next one, just basically foam rolling your mid-back in the area I'm going to show you. And if you have a ball, it's definitely the preferred option for us. So what we want to do with the ball, basically you're going to find your shoulder blade, and we're going to come just inside that shoulder blade in this, and that's where we want to work on. So if you can't handle too much pressure with this, go up against the wall and just find those kind of stickiest, most gritty-ish areas. These are going to be probably bad on a lot of you guys. And you can either just work up or down, or a lot of the times you're going to pin in to one spot with this. Once you have one sore spot pinned, take your arm and just calmly lift it up and back down. And what that's doing, or what you can also do, is a big kind of semicircle or drive across your body. So basically we're just creating movement while we pin down the spot. So think of it as like this like a bunch of adhered tissue all kind of stuck together. We're putting the ball into the middle of that, pressing into it, and then we're causing the shoulder to move and those muscles to get longer or shorter while we keep that pressure on there, and it just helps break up that area a little bit better. You can certainly just lay into it with the ball, or what you can do is get that bit of movement in there. It's totally up to you where you're at and how much pressure you can handle. And you're basically going anywhere just on the inside of that shoulder blade. So if it's shoulder blade and spine, we're just inside that shoulder blade, working basically that whole length of that shoulder blade just to whatever's most tender. Anyone who works at a desk is going to have some spots in here for sure. They'll be able to work on this for days on end, but again, just pick one spot to really focus in on instead of trying to get the whole thing done. So we're going to switch over to the other side. I'm going to show you what that can look like from the ground too. So if you can handle a little bit more pressure, basically you're just going to set that ball down into there, get onto it, find that spot, and then just settle into it this way. And what you can do is kind of roll on and off of it a little bit, or let me find a good spot. Same thing, you can take this arm nice and controlled, bring it up and bring it down. You can bring it across your body and back. So you got options here. There's no necessarily like, hey, this is right or wrong. You're just getting into that area, getting pressure onto it, and then moving your body with it at the same time. Then for your very last exercise, what we want to do, take that ball, we're going to work right into our pec. So what you can do, if you have like a doorway or a corner of a wall, you can go into that so that you can kind of put your body past it. If you don't have access to that, basically what you can do is just lay down, get some pressure in with that opposite hand, create pressure, and then just nice little snow angels here with that arm. And that's going to give you a nice release through there. But really, the best is when you can just get up against a wall, put that ball against the wall, and control how much pressure you have on it, and lean kind of past it, just for comfort-wise for you while you're doing it. So I find this one actually releases quite quickly and quite nicely with just some simple pressure on it, and then some nice movements here. Pretty quick to let go. And then we'll do the other side here. So a lot of people will be really tight through the pec here and don't need very much pressure in here to get the job done. And that is your nice little soft tissue release for the day. Hopefully you got that in and you were able to get through the whole thing. Maybe pause the video, throw out a couple parts that were particularly tender and spend some extra time there. You're gonna notice that this makes a massive difference if you do this on a regular basis.